In the summer of 1985, a series of mysterious disappearances in a small American town coincides with the arrival of a new high-tech nightclub. A veteran detective and a young journalist must uncover the connection between the cases while navigating a world of electronic music, synthetic drugs, and corporate secrets. Neon lights flicker, reflecting on the wet asphalt. Classic 80s cars drive by, their radios blaring synth pop. A giant neon sign, Electric Dreams, dominates the street with a line of young people dressed in 80s fashion waiting to get in. A police patrol car pulls up. Detective Frank Morrison, 45, tired, in a wrinkled polyester suit, gets out of the car. He looks at the club disapprovingly. In his hand, a photo of a smiling girl, Jenny, about 18. Frank, muttering, here again. He approaches the entrance where a burly security guard stops him. Security, do you have a ticket, sir? Frank shows him his badge. The security guard reluctantly lets him in. The place is a whirlwind of strobe lights and smoke. New wave music rumbles, shaking the floor. Young people dance with energetic movements, some wearing sunglasses, others with voluminous hairstyles. In the center, a DJ, Tommy Rodriguez, 19, charismatic, wearing a Frankie Goes to Hollywood t-shirt, spins records with contagious energy. Frank makes his way through the crowd, his expression of disgust deepening with each step. He looks for someone. His eyes fall on a VIP table where Marcus Sterling, 35, impeccable, wearing a silk suit and dark sunglasses, watches the scene with an enigmatic smile. Beside him, two glamorous women. Frank approaches Marcus. Sterling, have you seen this girl? Frank? He shows him Jenny's photo. Marcus looks at it indifferently. Marcus, that doesn't sound familiar. A lot of people come and go here, detective. Is this one of your disappearances? Marcus smiles. A smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Frank grits his teeth. Frank? She disappeared 2 nights ago. The last time she was seen was on her way out of here. Marcus. My security cameras didn't record anything unusual. Maybe she left with someone. Young people are like that, aren't they? Frank stares at him, sensing that Marcus knows more than he's letting on. The music swells. Frank turns around, frustrated, and disappears into the crowd. Sarah Chen, 28, energetic, with shoulder pads and a voluminous hairstyle, types furiously on an IBM personal computer. Her desk is littered with newspaper clippings about recent disappearances. On the wall, a Blade Runner poster. Her editor, 50, grumpy, approaches. Editor, Sarah, is it the disappearances again? People are sick of scary stories. We need something positive. Sarah? But boss, that's 3 in 1 month, and they're all connected to that new club, Electric Dreams. There's something fishy there. Editor, strange you don't have a story about the Apple Festival that sells newspapers. Sarah sighs. She knows he's right, but her instinct tells her there's something bigger at stake. She gets up, grabs her purse and her cassette recorder. Sarah, I'll do some more research. Maybe I'll find my story. The editor snorts. Sarah leaves the office with determination. Sarah drives her red Honda CRX, new wave music blasting. She drives past the Electric Dreams nightclub, which now seems harmless in the daylight. She stops at a cafe. Frank is sitting at a table drinking black coffee and reading a crumpled newspaper. Sarah sees him and approaches. Sarah. Detective Morrison, right? This is Sarah Chen from the Riverside Gazette. Frank looks up, without much interest. Frank, the press. Come to write about how incompetent I am? Sarah? What? I'm here to write about the truth. I'm investigating the disappearances. I heard the last girl, Jenny, was seen at Electric Dreams. Frank puts down his newspaper. He looks at her with a spark of interest. Frank? So what have you found, Miss Chen? Sarah? That's not the first. And that all the disappearances have a pattern. Young, healthy, and all of them went to that nightclub. Doesn't that seem suspicious to you? Frank nods slowly. He realizes Sarah isn't just any journalist. She has the same intuition as he does. Frank, suspicious is an understatement. But Sterling is a tough nut to crack. And the people here don't want trouble with the new business that's bringing money into town. Sarah, maybe if we work together we can find something. You have the badge, I have the pen and access to the information. Frank looks at her thoughtfully, an unusual but perhaps necessary alliance. He extends his hand. Frank, deal, Miss Chen. But don't expect me to listen to that loud music of yours. Sarah smiles. She knows this is the start of something big or dangerous. The club is in full swing. Frank and Sarah are inside, but this time Frank is wearing a plaid shirt and Sarah a more discreet dress. They try to go unnoticed. They watch Tommy, the DJ, who seems nervous. Marcus Sterling is at his VIP table, laughing with his companions. Tommy is the key. He seems to know something. Frank, too scared to talk. We need a plan. Suddenly, the strobe lights become more intense, almost blinding. The music distorts. A young man on the dance floor begins to convulse. People scream. Panic grips the room. Frank and Sarah make their way through the crowd. The young man is unconscious. Frank checks his pupils. They're dilated. Sarah sees a small, broken glass vial near him. Sarah, what's this? Frank picks it up with a handkerchief. He sniffs it cautiously. Frank, it's not ecstasy. It's something stronger, something synthetic. Marcus Sterling watches the scene from his table, his smile gone. His eyes meet Frank's for a moment. There's a silent warning. Frank and Sarah are with the coroner, 50 serious, wearing glasses. The ampule is under a microscope. Coroner. It's an experimental drug, a very potent synthetic stimulant. It affects the central nervous system and can cause hallucinations and in high doses coma or even death. Sarah, where does it come from? Coroner, there are no records of this substance. It's homemade but with very advanced chemistry. It would require a very sophisticated laboratory to produce it. Frank and Sarah look at each other. A sophisticated laboratory. Electric dreams? Frank and Sarah are surrounded by maps, photos, and newspaper clippings. They've been working non-stop. Sarah is on the computer, looking for information on Marcus Sterling. Sarah, Marcus Sterling, there isn't much. A Los Angeles businessman, he invested in real estate, then in entertainment. But there's no trace of his past before 5 years ago. Frank, too clean. No one is that clean. Frank looks at the photos of the victims. All young, all with normal lives, and all of them disappeared after going to electric dreams. Frank, what if it's not just a nightclub? What if it's a cover? Sarah stops. Her eyes widen. An idea. Sarah, the music, the flashbulbs, the drugs. What if they're experimenting on them? The idea is far-fetched, but it fits. Frank stands, his face grim. Frank, we need to get into that club another way. We need proof. Tommy, the DJ, is alone, cleaning his equipment. He looks exhausted and scared. Suddenly, he hears a noise. He turns around. Frank and Sarah are there. Tommy. Detective! Miss Chen! What are you doing here? Frank. We need your help, Tommy. We know you know something about the disappearances, about the drugs. Tommy hesitates. He looks around nervously. Tommy, I can't. Marcus, he's dangerous. Sarah, people are disappearing, Tommy. Jenny, don't you care? Tommy looks down. His eyes fill with tears. Tommy, I saw something. In the basement. There's a lab. And people. Hooked up to machines. Like they're being drained. Frank and Sarah look at each other, horrified. The truth is darker than they imagined. Frank, can you take us there? We need evidence. What? Tommy nods shakily. He knows he's risking his life, but he can't remain silent any longer. Tommy leads Frank and Sarah through a secret passage behind the DJ booth. The air turns cold and metallic. They reach a steel door. Tommy opens it with a key. Inside, a high-tech laboratory. Cold lights illuminate complex machines, tubes, and wires. In the center, several glass capsules. Inside each, an unconscious person is connected to tubes that extract a glowing liquid. It's Jenny. And the other victims. Marcus Sterling appears from the shadows, with a cold smile. He's not alone. 2 burly gorillas accompany him. Marcus, B.A. toward Marcus. I knew they were coming. There's always a hero in these stories, right, detective? Frank, what are you doing here, Sterling? What's all this? Marcus, the future detective. I'm draining the life energy from these young people, their youth, their vitality, to create a life-extending drug, a drug worth millions. Sarah, you're killing people. Marcus, sacrifices necessary for progress, and for my fortune. The gorillas pounce on Frank and Sarah. Frank struggles but is outnumbered. Sarah tries to escape but is caught. Tommy screams trying to help but is knocked out by one of the gorillas. Marcus approaches a console. He presses a button. The capsules begin to glow more brightly. The victims thrash about. Marcus, it's harvest time. Frank, with a last-ditch effort, manages to free himself. He sees a fire extinguisher. He grabs it and discharges it at the gorillas, creating a cloud of smoke. She takes advantage of the confusion to hit Marcus. Sarah, recovering, runs to the console. She remembers something Tommy told her about the system. She looks for an emergency switch. Marcus lunges at her. Marcus, no, you'll destroy years of work. Frank intervenes, struggling with Marcus. The struggle is brutal. Meanwhile, Sarah finds the switch. She flips it. The lab lights flicker. The capsule turn off. The victims stop thrashing. Marcus, furious, tries to hit Frank, but Frank dodges and pushes him against one of the machines. A short circuit. Sparks. Marcus screams. The machine explodes. Marcus falls, unconscious. The police, alerted by Frank's absence and the strange activity in the club, storm the basement. The bouncers are arrested. The victims are released. Jenny and the other victims are recovering. They're weak but alive. Frank and Sarah visit them. Tommy is there with a bandage on his head but smiling. Jenny, thank you, Detective. Ms. Chen, I thought I'd never see the light of day again. Frank, we did what we had to do. The truth always comes out, Jenny. Sarah is at her desk, typing furiously. This time her story is on the cover. Neon shadow falls, businessman arrested for illegal experiments. The editor approaches, grinning from ear to ear. Editor, wow. Sarah, this is gold and exclusive. I told you you'd find your story positive. Sarah smiles. It's not exactly positive, but it's the truth, and that's what matters. Frank is in his Chevrolet Camaro, listening to classic rock. He drives past Electric Dreams, which is now closed and has a for sale sign. The street is quiet. The neon lights are no longer flashing. Frank smiles. The city is safe, for now.